Hello everyone! Today we're going to be learning how to make these very cute and pretty and easy daisy chain bracelets. These are quite beginner friendly and I'll be knotting it through in a very detailed way so that if this is your first bracelet that you've ever done, you should be able to keep up quite well as well. And these bracelets are really cute just by themselves, or you can also make them for a set if you want to complete a set. So for example, I've made this frog and this guy goes with it as well. So they make really cute sets. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial and let's begin. To make this bracelet, you'll need 3 different colors. You'll need a color for the chain, one for the daisy, and a little bit of color for inside the daisy. So for my colors, I'm going to be using green for my chain, yellow for the inside of the daisy, and white for the petals. Now if you don't have any embroidery floss, you can also use any cotton-based string. As long as you can tie a knot with it and it sticks in its place, the string should work just fine. Now on to measurements. I'm going to be starting off by measuring off my chain part of the bracelet. So for me that is the green. And as you can see in the bracelet, the majority of it is just the chain. So this is going to be the color that you need to cut the longest length of. So I usually just use my wingspan as a measure for my string. However, I did go ahead and measure out exactly how many centimeters I'm cutting out so that you have precise information. So for this part, I'm cutting out my wingspan, which is about 150 centimeters. So I've held out the string to be the length of my wingspan, so that's about 150, and then I'm going to fold it over where I've measured and just measure on top of my string that I have just measured out. There we go. Now I'm going to cut this off, and this will be this first string of my bracelet, nice and long. Now with this length you should have enough to make quite a long bracelet. If you want to cut it a little bit shorter, you could probably do that and get away with it, but I always like to cut longer than shorter because it's a lot easier to cut off excess string rather than add string. So with this length of string, you should be pretty comfortable with your knotting and make it however long you need it to be for your wrist. Next, we're gonna cut our white string, which is our petal string. Now, as you can see, it's our second most used string in this bracelet. So for this, we're only gonna need about 100 centimeters. So again, I'm gonna take my string and I'll measure it out. I like to use my wingspan again, but instead of going from fingertip to fingertip, I'm just gonna go from fingertip to opposite shoulder. And that is about 100 centimeters for me. So I've just measured it out, and again, I'm gonna fold it over and measure out the second string. And there we are. That's our second string cut out. And finally, we're gonna need a little bit of string left for that little petal inside. And you really don't need so much, as you can see. You only use it sparsely in this bracelet. So I'm gonna measure out 60 centimeters. So for me, that's from fingertip to just your first shoulder. So basically your arm's length. It's a very nice and short amount of string. I've already doubled it over, and I'm just gonna cut right here. And that's all we need for strings. So if you look at your strings, I'll put all the loops that I've cut right on top of each other. I have 6 strands altogether, 3 on each side. So 2 strands from each color. My green is the longest. As you can see, yellow is the shortest, followed by white, and then followed by green, which is the longest. Okay, now we are ready to knot. When you get to knotting, it's a good idea to have something to hold down your bracelet with. I really like using a clipboard. I feel like it's the easiest way to hold down your bracelet. If you don't have a clipboard, you can just use a clip itself if you have just a clip and use the back of a book. Or you can also just use tape. That also works very well. Tape it down to a nice and hard surface. We're going to start off with our chain, the very beginning chain of our bracelet. Now to do that, I'm going to take my strings, and this is the halfway point of all my strings right here. So I'll take it from the halfway point. I'm going to open it up, and you don't need to open it up all the way, you just need to open it up slightly. And we're going to tape or hold down our bracelet a little bit above the halfway point. So my halfway point is about right here, and I have this kind of a little bit up there. And now I'm going to take out my green string, and we're going to make what's called forward-backward knots. Now our strings are very long right now, so it's easy for them to get a little bit twisted and tangled. So I'm just separating them out of the way from me. Okay, so we'll take our string, and to make forward-backward knots, I'm just going to take my green string. I'll make this 4 shape with it on top of my 2 other strings. And then I'll take the green string, go under those 2 strings and through this loop that I've created. And there goes all of my strings. They got carried with it as well. No problem, just put that out of the way. So it should look like this. Then you pull up. This is the forward part of the forward-backward knot. So now we're going to do this, but backwards. So I'm going to take my 4, take my string, make a loop that faces the other direction now. And again, I'm going to put it under my string and through that loop. And just take that and pull it all the way to the top. Pull nice and tight and snug, but don't pull too tight. You don't need it to be too tight. It's okay for it to be a little bit loose. So it should look like this. That's just 1 knot. In my bracelet, I make 15 of these knots. So let's do this one more time with you. We'll do the forward part, make a little 4 shape, go under, through the loop, pull all the way up, and then do it in the opposite direction. Go under the strings, through the loop, all the way up. That's our second knot. Let's do a third one. That was the forward part. Now we're going to do the backward part. That's our third knot. So I'm going to keep going with this for 15. And my goal is to make a loop that's this size. So I'm going to continue doing this. And here's my last one, 15. Okay. Now I'm going to take it off to show you what this looks like. It should look something like this. So all your knots are facing the exact same direction. Once you have a nice length, you can fold it over to test out if that length is good enough. And what does good enough length look like? I always like to think of the end of my bracelet. Okay, so at the end you're going to have to do a little knot, and you want to make sure that that little knot can fit through your hole that you make. If it doesn't fit through, it's going to be very difficult to tie your bracelet in the end. So with this size of a hole and my current strings, I can definitely fit a knot, the end knot through. So this is perfect. So once you have that length, we're going to fold it over and we're going to hold this down now. I'll hold it down with my clipboard. And the way I'm holding it, I want to try and make sure that a teardrop shape kind of forms. You want to make sure that the ends are really close to each other. That will make it easier when you knot your first daisy. Okay, now it's time for our first daisy. Now you're going to take your petal color. So for me it's the white. I'm going to separate them from both sides. And now we're gonna do a forward knot on top of our right string. So I'm taking my left side and I'm gonna do a forward knot on top of the white string on the right side. So what's a forward knot? I'm gonna make that 4 shape again. I'm gonna go under and through the loop that I've made. Pull all the way to the top. And this is gonna be maybe just a little bit tricky because it might go a little bit loose. Again, don't pull too tight. You don't need to go too tight on this to hold it in place. Just try and make sure to make it go all the way up to the top of your loop. And then we're gonna do another one. So 2 of these make 1 knot. A forward knot is just 2 of these knots. There we go. Now I'm gonna take my white string that's coming out from the right, and I'm gonna do another forward knot on top of the yellow. So here's 1 forward knot. And remember, you need 2 of these to make 1 forward knot. There we go. So now that we've done our first forward knot on top of the yellow string, we're going to do a forward backward knot on top of the last green string. So we'll take our string, our white string, we'll do the first forward part of the knot. And then the backwards part is just the same thing but in the other direction. So I'm making a loop on the right side of my string. I'll go under and through that loop and pull all the way up. There we go. Now we're gonna have to do the same thing with our white string on the other side. So I'm gonna go to that white string and we're going to do a backwards knot this time on top of the yellow. So again, a backwards knot is just the same as a forward knot but in the other direction. So I'm taking my white string, I'm gonna make the loop to the right of my yellow string, and we're gonna go under and through that loop. That's 1, and you need a second one. And there we go, that's 1 backward knot. And then at the very edge, we're gonna do a backward forward knot this time. So we'll do the backward part, like so. Go under and through the loop. And then the forward part, we're gonna go the other way and go under and through the loop again. And there we go. Now we're done the upper part of our little daisy flower. So we're gonna do the little center of the flower now. So for me, that's the 2 yellow colors at the very middle. I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna do a forward knot between my left side and my right side. So I'll take the left yellow, go over top of the right, go under and through the loop. And that's my first knot of the forward knot. And we'll do that again. There we go, that's our forward knot. Now we're gonna finish up our daisy. And this time I'll start off from the left side. It doesn't matter which side you start from. I'm gonna do a forward knot between my white and the yellow string. We'll go under through the loop once, twice. There we go. And now I'm gonna go to the other side with my white string, and we're gonna do a backwards knot this time. So again, under the yellow, through the loop, pull all the way up, and make sure you do it twice. You need 2 of these to make 1 knot. And we are almost done the daisy now. We just need to close it up between those 2 last strings. And I'm gonna do that using a forward knot. You can also use a backward knot, by the way. Whenever you see two strings that are the same color and you want to knot them together, you can do either forward or backward knot. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do a forward knot. That's one, and that's two. And we're done our daisy. Now we're going to do the chain part that links two daisies together. And it's very easy. It's pretty much the same as what we did in the very beginning loop of our bracelet. So do the left side first. So I'm just going to take the green, and on the left side we're going to do forward backward knots to make the chain. So this is a forward, this is a backward. Whoop. Let me show you that clearly. Do the loop in the other direction, go under. I'm struggling. Okay, we're good. Go under and through. And pull all the way up. And there you go, that's a forward backward knot. I'm gonna do 7 of these on the side. I feel like 7 gives a nice length to have just a little bit of a curve between each two daisies. So that's 1. I'm gonna do another 6 of these. There's another one. That's 2. And that's 3. 4. 5. 6. And 7. There we go. We're done our left side. Now we're going to do the right side. And you could probably guess what the right side is going to be like. It's going to be the exact same, but instead of forward backward, we're going to do backward forward. So again, we'll take the green, and this time we'll start off with the backward part of the knot. So that means we're going to make the loop to the right of our 2 strings, go under, and then forward. So that's 1 backward forward knot. We're going to do the same thing, 7 knots on this side as well. So I'm going to do another 6. Backward, forward, that's 2 knots, backward, forward, that's 3 knots. Let's do 4 more. 4, 5, 6, and last one, 7. Look at that, now you have a daisy and a chain. And now we're pretty much back to our daisy. So what I showed you guys the first time around, you're just gonna repeat the exact same steps. I'll do it with you, but in a little bit of a quicker pace, just so that you can see how it goes. You can also just rewind to the part of the bracelet where I do the daisy if you want it to be a little bit slower. So we start off with the whites. We're going to take those, get them nice and close to each other. We'll do a forward knot between those 2. There we go. Now we're going to do a forward knot with the yellow. A forward backward knot on the green. And then we're going to switch to the other side. We'll do a backward knots now on the yellow. And then a backward forwards knot on the green. Now we're gonna do the center. I'm gonna take those two yellows and I'll do a forward knot between them. And then we'll take the yellow on the left side, do a forward knot. Now we're going to jump over back to the right side, do a backwards knot. I'm getting a little bit tangled, just one sec. Okay, there we go. This one. Two. And then this time I'm doing a backwards knot between those two. Again, it doesn't matter if you do a forward or a backward. And there we go, here's our second daisy. And then again, you're gonna do chains and then a daisy, chains and a daisy, chains and a daisy for whatever length you like. So for this bracelet, and this suits my wrist size quite well, I have 3, 6, 9, 11 daisies. And then I also have quite a long tail and quite a long end so that it can suit multiple different wrist sizes. One thing I want to mention is if you do your bracelet and you're like, oh, where did the loop go? Why does it look straight like this? You can easily just form it. So I just like to take my strings and just pull them to the edges, pull them apart a little bit, and that brings back the loop. And it can really hold its shape because the knots are quite tight and secure. So I was saying don't knot too tightly, and definitely you don't need to knot too tightly, but do try and make sure to pull all the way to the top so that you don't have any gaps between your knots. And this way it is really nice and sturdy. So I'm going to complete the rest of my bracelet off the camera, and I'll come back near the end when I've made my last daisy to show you how I like to finish my bracelet. So I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty everybody, I just finished knotting the rest of my bracelet. That's 11 different daisies that I've completed. And I'm going to show you how to finish it up. Now for reference, finishing it up took me about 20 minutes. If this is the first time for you knotting it, it'll probably take you a little bit longer, but generally I find making these bracelets takes about a half hour, so it's kind of a quick project, which is kind of nice. So the way that I like to end these off is with some twisted ties. Now you can end them off however you like. You can do a braid, but I like the twisted ties. I think they have a really nice look to them. So how do we do twisted ties? We're just going to take both of our ends right after we finish our daisy, and we're going to take one end and just twist it clockwise. So I'm twisting it towards the right. And it's going to have this really nice spiral look to it. Now we're going to take the next, the other side, and I'm going to keep this held, so you don't want it to untwist. We're going to keep this held, and then we're going to do clockwise on this side as well. So again, twisting to the right. Alright, once you have them both twisted, you're going to twist them on top of each other, but in the opposite direction, so anti-clockwise, or towards the left. Now as I twist, you might see that my fingers are also twisting the strings as they go. And I do that so that they don't unravel, and also so that I twist any new ends that I might need to add as well. Now keep doing this for whatever length you like. I like my ends to be a good length so that you have flexibility with whoever wants to wear it, especially if you're giving this as a gift. it's nicer to have a longer end and then cut it to your preferred size rather than have a shorter end. Okay, so I've twisted it for quite a long length, and now I'm gonna do my knot. And the way that I like to do my knot is that I like to incorporate a little bit of the twists themselves. I just find that it makes the knot a little bit more secure. So I'm gonna take all of this ends, we'll loop it around, go through, and then tighten, tighten. And see how now I'm tightening on the twist itself. Nice and tight. And then you can just cut the rest off. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors, cut, and there we have our finished bracelet. Again, you can fix the loops to be nice and loopy, and then you can test it out. Put this through, put it around your wrist, tighten, and then you can just tie a little knot to secure it. And see, for my wrist, the 11 daisies are like a perfect size, so I could shorten this quite a bit if I want it to be just for me. But if I want to share it or if I want to give it to a friend, having a little bit of leeway is nice. And there you have it. This is the full bracelet. Super fun to make, easy, beginner friendly, and really pretty. I think it's also really pretty and unique. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial and have fun making them. Thank you for watching.